Hey, Fernanda.
Hi, Ryan.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year for you too.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about this conversation. So I know you've got a question prepared, so let's just dive into it.
Sure. So the big question is, what marketing trends do you see emerging in 2025?
Now, the easy answer here, I think, is AI. And we all know AI and automation is coming. But I think that what we're going to see in 2025 is a large emergence of humans, is what I'm predicting. Now, I'm seeing that founder led initiatives, CEO led initiatives, investor led initiatives are going to be very profitable in the new year. I think what people are really wanting now is to hear the long story, and only people can give that to you. So here's what I got three things in mind in particular. One is just back to basics. And what I mean by that is owned audience. People are going to spend a lot of time and effort with owned audience. Now, owned audience is basically when you're not at the whim of an algorithm, right? So, we know that TikTok might get shut down. So if you've gone hard on TikTok, all you have are the subscribers and the virality of your experience on TikTok at this point. But owned audience would be three places that I think are really important. One is a website. Two is a newsletter list or just email in general. And then the third really is podcasting. So kind of breaking those down and how they all work together, and this is specific for founder led initiatives, or we'll just say thought leader rather initiatives, because it could be CEOs too. I think we're going to see that in large corporations, but largely we're going to see a lot of scrappy startups doing some really cool things. And people want to see the founder out front. So the founder has a tool and they're working hard to market that. But I think they should be working just as hard as marketing themselves. So, a website, it almost seems trite. It seems like an antique at this point. But I think what founders are really going to need in 2025 is a website, a home base for all of their media adventures, whether that's podcasting, newsletters, their writing, their links to their social, that kind of thing. Because I really think long form communication is going to be huge. So, for founders out there looking how to market their product, I really think they should start, thinking about marketing themselves, and getting out in front, because the one thing that lasts longer than your project is yourself and your own name. So I think 2025, we're going to see a lot of people, using newsletters, websites, and podcasts in particular to get their name out. Which is a question for you, maybe, Fernanda. Are there any kind of like founders? Are you into kind of founder type entertainment? Is there anybody that sticks out to you? So let's talk about podcasts for a second. You're listening to one, which is awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. But have you ever thought about being a guest on a podcast? Like, seriously, imagine sharing your story and your expertise and your business all on shows where your ideal customers are already listening. Kitcaster connects founders and entrepreneurs, professionals, with podcasts that actually make sense for their brand. No pitching, no guessing. You just have great conversations on great shows. And the best part, Kitcaster handles everything. You just show up and bring your A game, Kitcaster does the rest. This is hands down one of the easiest ways to grow your personal brand and just create a wellspring of content for short video, for blog posts, for speaking engagements, for whatever. So if you've been thinking, yeah, I really need to step up my content game, go to kitcaster.com and apply today. Now back to the show.
There is, since I'm like kind of into the fitness industry, there's one girl called Crazy Chella. She's the founder of two brands. One is Honor Active and the other one is Evolve You. And I'm like a huge fan of them both. But I became a fan of the brands because of her before. Like I do recognize her first and then her brands. So I do get what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
I I'm a big like follower of her persona. And then from there I went to her company. I have listened to her podcast and she has a very strong presence, whether it's on social media like YouTube, like Instagram, but she also built a very strong brand because of her persona. So yeah, I'm gonna give you points on that. I definitely think that's the way to go in 2025.
Yeah, and this year we pivoted some products and I've invested heavily in this idea of kind of audience for equity, which is to say, there's folks maybe like me that have a great idea for a fitness product and, it's amazing, but my go to market strategy isn't going to be to put me in the ads for reasonable reasons because I think I have a reasonable level of physical fitness, but boy, you really wouldn't tell by looking at me. So, the idea for like equity for audience is you bring somebody in as a co-founder to actually embody the brand. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And this is a path that people have been doing forever, all the way back to Michael Jordan did it probably the best, is that you have to get these endorsement deals. But I think we're going to see it sooner and sooner in kind of the maturity of the business where founders, a founding core is going to go look for an audience component of that, which I think gives like business leaders in particular, founders, huge incentive to build their personal brand. And even that it might eclipse their actual projects. You could see like Alex Hermazi is a great example of this. Gary V is a great example of this, where they have a portfolio of businesses, but they're really at the top, so that people will come to them with these offers. Now, that's exactly what we've been doing is shopping equity for influence deals. And I can tell folks out there, there's a strong demand of people that want to go to market with somebody who already has an established presence. Now social channels, of course, are going to be crucial for sure, at least on some channel where, it's X or Instagram, TikTok, wherever you build your audience. But ultimately, I think for folks that want to get started, with kind of personal branding, start with the basics, start with the website, start writing, get your newsletter out there, find subscribers, find traction. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. The second thing I was thinking that would be pretty instrumental this year is business entertainment. And this, I think, is something that's been growing kind of to your point. Your favorite influencer also is like a business leader. And I think what we'll see a lot more of are kind of like almost documentaries about famous business people um or founders that have gone bust. Like we're going to see a lot more business entertainment. I think largely because this is again adding a human component. If our destiny this year for sure is to have AI generated content, whether it's movies and short videos and podcasts and everything. And what's really cool about AI is that the people are gonna be unrealistically beautiful, you know? But in my opinion, like perfect physical features and perfectly structured sentences, to me, it's not as charming as the patina of suffering that comes from real experience, you know? And so
Yeah.
I think as we start to see like a perfection of artistic craft where we're like, wow, that's amazing. We're going to see the rise of that imperfect that to really come forward. And I think you don't find that anywhere better than in stories about business and stories about entrepreneurs and stories about struggle and perseverance and tragedy and success and big dollar amounts. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Now, do you have any business entertainment that you really like? Documentaries or
I
any
mean,
stories?
I'm gonna go to the same one because I think Underactive has a very strong marketing team, and they
Yeah.
actually made a series, a documentary, a very short series about Crazy Chela and how she built like this company and the faults she's had and the problems she's been through. So I like again, I definitely get what you're saying. It adds this component of, like recognizing like the human in the person you admire and creating a very strong connection. And it doesn't matter like the channel you're looking at it, you're always gonna come back looking for more since you created like that connection with the person. So I think that's at the end of the day what we're looking for in marketing, to create like that connection so people keep coming and looking for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been writing a lot about Tesla recently. I mean, Tesla's fascinating for so many reasons, but especially I think it's his relationship with kind of that whole industrial era. If you're someone who's always trying to level up, whether it's your health, your career, or just life in general, you have to check out the Lift newsletter. This is my personal newsletter where I share stories, insights, and practical tips that are all about creating a lift in your life. We're talking about how to crush it in business, how to stay sharp mentally and physically, and find a little balance along the way. Every edition is packed with quick reads, actionable advice, and a little humor along the way. It's all designed to give you value up front and never waste your time. So head over to my website, it's ryanestis.info, click the newsletter, and subscribe today. It's free, it's fun, and who knows, maybe this is the lift you've been looking for. ryanestis.info. Now let's get back to the podcast, because it feels like we're on the verge of something very similar, where we have a whole paradigm shift in thinking, but also in the economy, and like everything's kind of blooming. And so, in that era, you had the Rockefellers, and you had, the JP Morgans, and you have these massive industrialists that were kind of leading the charge of really what capitalism would become. And then you have these other players, Tesla and Edison, and like all these like true innovative geniuses. And it's really interesting to go back because you start to see parallels. One of the things that I'm just heartbroken about with Tesla is because, Tesla came to Colorado Springs, and in exchange for basically setting up a laboratory, he created a deal with Colorado Springs to say, hey, if you give us free power, then you can kind of do whatever you want. And who knows what he was doing up there? He was trying to work on free electricity for everybody. Well, free electricity for everybody isn't really in the industrialists' idea, because they love that meter so they could get paid. So they shut down his funding, and that's probably because Tesla's extremely eccentric and wasn't profit motivated, which is kind of admirable. But I just wonder, like, if he would have had the same business like interest as Edison, like what could have happened? How fast could we have gotten to free electricity if he would have been there? So, with that as a model, I kind of look around and I'm like, hey man, where are the other opportunities of absolute geniuses that we can like tap into that are going to speed up the opportunity for prosperity, So I don't know. I don't know who those people are, but I think they will emerge. And I think that we have a sophistication of capitalism right now. Not that it's perfect, but that really has like that the people understand the creative power and the unbelievable opportunity of cash. So hopefully we don't have Tesla withering away with his best friends that are pigeons in pure madness. Hopefully we can catch him before then.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Uh, So the last thing, the big trend I see kind of continuing in 2025 is long form content. So, we talked about podcasts. Of course, podcasts are great for long form content. And we saw the power of podcasting, witnessed in the US election. Trump basically won back the presidency by going on long form podcasts and convincing the American people that he wasn't too crazy to govern, you know? And the Democrats did not do that, intentionally did not do kind of the podcast circuit. And I think they paid the price for it. So I think what we're going to see is just that emerge. And I think the next big movement in the political parties, especially in the United States, will come from podcasters, whether they're publishing on YouTube, which I think we'll see a lot more of that. I think Spotify is going to really double down on video as well. And if Apple is smart at all, they'll also go to a video format because people really prefer it. But I think that the new leadership across the board, whether it's politically or in business or in media or in music or movies, is going to be in long form podcasts. I think people are going to want to see the person's their real personality that only kind of comes out when, the gloves come off and the talking points subside and you're 90 minutes into a conversation, it's like now you start to really see that person. And and generally, I think it's kind of a net positive, you know? I think the way I grew up and the way television media has always been is giving people these 30, 60-second sound bites. And so, you could prepare somebody and say, like, okay, here's what we want you to say. You have a movie premiering on, the 17th, and everyone needs to go buy popcorn and blah, 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 blah. Two jokes, punchline, you're off the seat, you know. But now I think people are going to need more to buy in. And I also think that's again because, some of the patina of experience is going to be more valued. We can get AI to enhance everything. So everyone's going to be pretty on screen, but it's going to be really the wisdom, for lack of a better word, that I think is going to be really driving behavior in 2025.
Yeah, definitely. I think we got to a point where we relied so much on technology, and I mean, we're still gonna do it, but we are craving human connection. Like we've been separated for such a long time after the pandemic that we are looking for humane aspects of life, like everywhere. So I get what you're saying. Like after a long period of time, you really get to see like who is talking, who is behind that cute persona that you see like for 16, 90 seconds. And that's such an interesting aspect of the media in general. So yeah, I think that's very true. We're creating the human aspect of life.
100%. And to that point, I think humans will start to figure out humans, talking like it's a laboratory. Like, we humans. Um, no, but like people are gonna start learning how to tune these generative AI tools so it enhances the human experience. And I know a lot of artist friends myself are upset. That like you can create banger music really quick with AI. You can create gorgeous graphic design really quick. And the short term fear is that, oh, it's going to put us out of business, but I think really what will happen is we'll figure out ways to use these things not to compete with us, but to like enhance our personal experiences across the board. I'm just waiting for someone create an AI tool that I don't have to log in 75 times a day to email. Like, when are you gonna do
Yes.
that? That that would enhance my personal experience, you know? So, I think that this is gonna be a line that we're gonna walk for the next few years is like how to use automation and AI to make life better. Because so far, like AI chatbots and like the phone tree when you call and press 1 for this, press 2 for that, that's terrible. Like, that that takes your quality of life down 10 million points. Your aura points is shot if you're using bad AI. But if AI could be used to make things um, better from a human experience, I think that's really interesting. And I wanted to get your opinion on one thing too, because there's something I heard online called AI brain, which is essentially like people are having a hard time finding simple words and having a hard time communicating because they're using AI in all the work they're doing, particularly with young students. So college students right now that are using AI for everything to complete their sentences, basically. When they're off of that, then they're struggling, they're struggling to talk. So here's my question for you. There's several products coming out that are basically pendants. So there's one called Friend. And what it is it's this little cool looking circle that hangs right here. And it's got a camera and it's recording everything at all times. And it's recording all the conversations at all times. Follow me.
Okay.
Kind of
Okay.
creepy, but it's basically so when, next time we get together, I can be like, um, I can ask it before we get on the call, I remember Fernando was wearing this cool plaid shirt. What color was that again? And it'd be like, it was green, Ryan. It was green and blue. And then so it can basically like be a outsourced memory for your brain. So you don't have to think of anything. You can just go to the grocery store. I'm speaking for myself, for example, because I'll have a whole list of things. And then I get to the grocery store. I'm like, I don't
And you
remember what I
forgot
need
the
to get here.
list.
Yeah. I just go home with like a dozen eggs and some chocolate, you know, but this would be watching. It would see your cabinets. It would see everything depleted. It'd be like, "No, Ryan, you need protein powder and butter and, black beans or whatever." It already knows. So, the question really is pendant like this and always on outsourced memory. Would you be interested in that?
I would definitely not be interested in that. Because I mean, for me, like you need to exercise your brain the same way you work out with your body to keep it active and like moving and like you can use it. I think the more you rely on outside stuff, the more you stop using because your body in general is very smart. You know what you don't use, you don't spend energy keeping it. So I think it's
Yeah,
the same with reading. If you don't use your brain, like we're gonna depend. Like we already depend so much. For example, I'm speaking for myself on my phone. Whenever I don't have my phone, I don't have money. I don't remember the phone numbers that I need to be calling. I don't know how to get to some places because I'm always using the GPS and stuff. And we already rely on so many stuff that yeah, like brain gymnastics. We don't do them enough.
totally. No, I think you're right. There's something about mental rigor that creates, well, I think that's just the way you stay sharp. I love your metaphor. It's like if you're not working out your body, your muscles will atrophy. The same thing's going to happen with your brain. And I wonder, like, what we can do mentally. This might be a great business idea for somebody. Is like, I mean, the AI tools aren't going anywhere. And if we don't need the tools to write necessarily, or we don't need our brain to write necessarily, like, how can we keep our minds in tuned? And for some reason, this reminds me of like feudal Japan. And I'm obsessed with this time period because on one side, it's very rigid. It's very tight. Like the culture is like everything is a ritual, basically. The way you sit down is you learn. The way you clean something, you learn. Like everything is very tight. And as a result, they have this beautiful culture, like the aesthetics of like paper walls and the cool pillows with like the fireplace and like that era is so beautiful. But you have the downside of that is you have also it's so rigid that you have like, if you dishonor yourself with a wrong statement, you have to kill yourself with a sword, So there's it's too far conservative, It's like you need something in the middle. But during this time, you have like, kind of the state religion, for lack of a better word, or philosophy is like Zen. And Zen has this twinkle in its eye at all times of like whatever's happening and the rigor and the discipline involved in the culture. Zen would provide the perfect comedy at the perfect time as a way to kind of break that tension, but also to kind of like flirt with like, hey, this is my intelligence. You can see this irony. You can see the humor in the situation. So I wonder if there's something there where we don't need our brains necessarily to communicate digitally for very much longer. It'll be kind of intuitive, which is to say that AI on our screens and stuff will know what we want to do and it'll be completing our senses and doing like that. So maybe to keep our brains in tune, that we find some kind of physical rigor and then, use comedy as a way to flex our mental muscle.
Yeah, I think it's like everything. I guess like you realized so far that probably my life's philosophy is finding the sweet spot. Like AI is amazing. It's an amazing tool. Like you can cut down times of like some activities that will just take a lot of time. It will help you. But then when it gets to the creative part where I need to exercise my brain, I'll try not to use it because I don't want to depend on it. Like you have to
Yeah,
take advantage of the advantages it provides you without making you depend on it.
totally agree. It's going to be a crazy, crazy year. You ready for this, Fernanda?
I am. Well, I hope.
Me too.
I guess I am,
You
but
have
I
no
hope. I'm
choice. I
not
hope you're
sure.
ready.
I would like to think I am.
Cool.
I'm ready, but let's figure it out.
Nice. So these are just a couple of trends that I've been thinking about. I would love to hear what other people think in the comments. Please hit it up, and I'll be in the comments myself, following up with all the messages. So I really appreciate everybody listening. Thanks so much. Okay, let me ask you something. Do you have a B2B or tech brand that want to get your message out to the right people? You know, like the people that actually care about your product and offering and are willing to make a purchase? Well, let me put you on to Wildcast. Wildcast is a secret weapon for brands that want to advertise on podcasts. And not just any podcast, we're talking about the shows that your audience is actually listening to, that your customers are actually listening to, that your prospects are actually listening to. These are host-read ads that move the needle in your business. It's personal, it's targeted, and honestly, it's one of the best ways to create real connections with your audience. And the best part, Wildcast takes care of it all. They match you with the perfect shows, they manage all of the content, they report, and they manage all of the payment distribution. So all you have to do is sit back and watch the magic happen. If that sounds like something you need, head over to gowildcast.com and apply today. Start turning listeners into loyal customers. Seriously, you'll thank me. Go to gowildcast.com. That is gowildcast.com. Back to the show.